This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Government now, Zoom has left us. We're using Google Meets now because Google's much more secure and the IT department went to that. Hybrid is designed to allow more participation by citizens who might be interested in joining our meetings. And all of the meetings are supposed to go that way. They set this up. So that's a Google Meets. Jamie's a host and I'm a host. We can also share documents with applicants. So that's why you see that. If you know people that might want, like City Space, you might have members who say, I really don't want to go to in-person. In the future, they can join this way and speak just like they would on a remote meeting.
Right.
Okay, so that's one thing. Secondly, if you want to wear a mask, there are no reasons why you can't. Don't feel it's fine. I just don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable. Wear a mask if you feel like you should or if you want to. Okay. Secondly, y'all got this note from Lindsay, the mayor's assistant, about the open meeting law. Apparently, there's a lot of people that haven't done video open meeting law, which is during the day. With some work, I asked Lindsay to change that to the option of downloading open meeting documents, sending her a receipt that you've received them. And that would be sufficient for now, because a lot of people can't make those daytime. The video open meeting is better. So if you haven't done that, get to that email. The last one today has a link to where those meeting documents are available. I'm supposed to, as chair, to tell you to do that. That's what the city council had to do. That's all we had to do. It gives you all the documentation, read them over, okay? Be careful. Apparently in town, there's some people that really are concerned that government is too secret, which isn't the case. We do all this stuff. All right, approval of minutes. February 24th. Jess, John, Andy, Joe, Jay, and Harry could say, yeah, so Harry J is here, Andy's here, I'm here, and John's here. So we do have 5.
Motion to approve the minutes from February 24th.
I actually have a change.
Yes.
I noticed that it said that I abstained when I was absent. I think Greg and I both abstained. We were absent on one of them. I just happened to look.
You know which one?
On the February one, on the 1st.
Well, we could take that motion.
Right.
This is one. 2 are here on this one.
I wasn't here, and there it says for the motion to approve in the little box, it says abstain, not absent. It should be absent.
Yeah, okay.
Here, right? It's right here.
Right there.
Which date?
The February.
February 24th.
It's not the biggest thing in the world, but we should make it accurate.
So could you change the motion to move that we approve the minutes as amended?
Yeah, so a motion to approve the minutes from February 24th as amended.
Second.
Okay. So again, don't have to do a roll call.
Look at it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, wait, I can't
If you
vote. No, I
weren't here,
abstain.
you have to abstain.
That's
So,
right.
okay. So
I'm just glad we're going to abstain. I know, right? But I'm glad for the amendment.
Nick wasn't here. And Scott.
Andy.
All right. So February 7th or March 17th, Scott, John, Joe, Greg, and Harry. 1, 2,
Yes.
3, 4, 5. So we do have enough to approve the minutes. Joe's not here. So is there any amendments to the 17th? That anybody knows them? Then I'll take a motion to approve the minutes of March 17th.
I wasn't there, but I can still make the motion.
Hold on, let her catch up.
So
Hate this computer.
my fingers are all not used to keep, so they'll move on. But that passed 5 in favor.
5 in favor.
Two abstentions.
Scott and Greg abstained. Jess said she was.
We made the motion.
I'll make a motion.
We did make a
No,
motion.
you made a motion, yeah.
So somebody who was
I'll
here.
move to approve the minutes from March 17th.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Greg, seconded by Scott. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? We're there at that meeting.
I can still vote even though I was not there. I looked at my training.
Really?
Yeah. I'll abstain though, just to, you know, for fun.
Well, I find the abstention because you weren't at the meeting to suggest that.
But I read.
Why would I
them
approve?
Because I read them, but I know, but it came up. Someone asked that question and they said,
The open meeting thing?
yes, in the training. Yeah.
I better go back.
Okay, see?
You became a lawyer.
I'll abstain.
You know, Jay, when we were remote, you never created this kind of.
I know, just, you know, I'm not used to seeing people.
We have no public other than city space here. Communication, Jamie, any communications other than what we're doing tonight? I'm going to share the screen on account balances. So, why are we seeing? Oh, sorry, man. I'll see this here. So basically, we have this figure here in the corner in the bank. Okay, that's important because we're near the end of the fiscal year. So the projects, pending earmark projects, which you see here, the ones in parentheses are still outstanding. Jamie's already deducted those, okay? Now, account balances. Where is the city space balance shown? I see it up here. Next page.
So it's not, it's chronological, not alphabetical. So the Old Town Hall,
Town hall.
fourth from the bottom is the phase one.
So we have 511,000.
That's phase one construction. And then what's the routine scheme now, just called that.
I'm not seeing. Yeah, here we are. I got you. So we have 744,000 in there, plus this year's budget is going to add 250 to that area. Okay, that's important to note because I'm going to propose something after I listen to what City Space is stating tonight. I'd like to turn the floor. I'm going to leave this up. I'm going to turn the floor over to Burns. Hi.
Hey, good to see you. I'd like to update you sort of where we are with the phase project, phase one especially, and lead into phase two. It's really good to be very nice with you. And the phase project is really managed by Mike Towson, who cannot be here tonight, along with Kumho Architects, and helped by Michael Owens, who is procurement officer for the city of Easthampton. So, in lieu of them not being here, I'd just like to thank them for their work on the project. And it is underway. So we're really excited about this. The schedule for the bidding for mechanical and electrical improvements that have been funded, that $255,000+ from the CPA, $511,000 project. The documents for bidding will be available on April 27th. So from the beginning of the year till now, we've been working on the bid documents, developing those, working towards the cost estimate, and the pre-bid meeting will be on May 4th, so it'll be a walkthrough. And May 13th, which is my birthday, the filed subbids are due. Didn't like that, but I'm very excited about it. The notice to proceed will be on June 10th. So
What's June 10th again?
the notice to proceed with the project. So we'll give the bidders the winning bid, and it should take. We're estimating. It's a strange time for construction, as we all know. Supply chain and the market, inflation. It's a strange world we're living in. But I will say that the work that we've done so far, it shows that if all goes as planned, that we should have substantial completion by the date that we planned, which is in November. Final completion will probably be at the end of December. That's just wrapping up the loose ends. So the pricing for this project did come in higher than expected. So we had 511,000, just over that for the project. It came in at 648,000, just a little bit over that. That does not include markup, so a contingency. The base bids includes all of the following related work. So we'll be upgrading, if you remember, the existing 3-phase electrical service. We'll be installing a new vault and 800 amp transformer on the site at the right rear of the building. We'll be removing the 600 amp transformer, vault piping, and related switches along the north side of the building. And we'll be extending sort of an underground conduit and wiring from the new transformer vault into the basement. We'll be repowering the existing electrical feeds. If you can imagine the building, there's the city by kiosk. Those will be repowering those along with the T-Mobile transmission site, the south tower, the tall one, and the existing building panel. All of this work impacts the first floor and the second floor. So it's building for the second floor. We'll be installing a new code-compliant switches for all existing electrical services and install all of the basic infrastructure required to feed high voltage power from the basement to the second floor. In addition to this, we'll be replacing the existing heating system. We'll be disconnecting all of the electrical feeds, water feeds, and return piping from the existing steam boiler. We're going to be removing all the feed and return piping and all the radiation from the basement. There's going to be most of the significant work is going to be in the basement. So you're not going to see it around the building, but there will be removal of the heating systems that are in each space. I don't know how many of you have been in the building, but there's a claim that happens throughout the building, and that will cease to exist. I will kind of miss it. We'll be installing new circulation pumps, new piping and operation controls for the boilers, and install all new hydronic piping and radiation and in all the rooms in the first floor. Because the cost estimate came in higher than expected, we adjusted the add alternates to the project, and add alternates are, if you don't know, are the additional items of work that may be awarded as part of the contract when the bids come in. And we did this in the order of the following. We won't know until the pricing comes in. And the following is we'll be replacing all the existing galvanized domestic water lines throughout the basement with all new piping. This will alleviate the potential of freezing and pipes bursting. They'll be sized to supply the second floor expansion, which is incredibly important to the larger project, and reconnect all existing equipment. Then we'll be providing, the second alternate is providing an energy recovery ventilation system on the first floor, including all related electrical and mechanical work. And the third alternate, add alternate, will be provide a ductless heat pump system, including all related mechanical, electrical, and exterior mounting pads. Those will supplement existing climate control on the first floor, and this will service all of the 4 rooms on the hallway, off the hallway, except for the blue room, which is in back. It already has existing split system in place, and we'll be keeping that. We'll be providing a ducted, the fourth alternate is providing a ducted air handling system and condensing unit, including all mechanical and electrical for climate control in the lobby, the first floor lobby. And last but not least is demolition and removal of the existing steam boiler in the basement. So the lowest responsible bidder will be selected, and as I said, notice to proceed will happen on June 10th. And we're hoping to include all of the ad alternates, obviously. But as I said, within this market, we're gonna take this process step by step and see how the bids come in, reflect on that, and then we'll go to the next step. And I would like to join you for the next meeting in May, if you would have me, and update you on where we are with the bidding process, as well as we are looking forward to submitting the application for the second phase of the pilot project. Our estimation is that with the city and the CPA and however you decide to move forward with funding, that process and timeline will take it'll take some months. And we estimate that City Space will have the funding, the 5.9 million that we need to have in place to move forward with the processes such as developing the cost estimation finalized and the RFP process. So we will be submitting that application, and yeah, the campaign itself. Did you want to say something? You want to say?
I didn't want you to go too far along without asking some questions.
Yes,
on the
please.
Project, if that's okay. The original $511,000, did that include the ad alternates? And how was that estimated? Was that estimated by the Kuhn Riddle?
That was estimated by Kuhn Riddle.
Did that include the ad alternate?
That included the ad alternate.
So the 648 is coming from them now because they actually went out and did a new check based on current price.
Right, actually, ad alternates were added, well, they were put in order and adjusted for the new cost estimate.
So they weren't part of the original 511 in a sense.
I need to look at that.
I'm only wondering why, if Kuhn Riddle did the 511, why it went up to 648 and how that process went. But it sounds like the ad alternates were the culprit in how they were estimated, maybe early on and now. So
The ad alternates, essentially, all of the project is important. All of it we want to see happen. It's necessary for it to happen, if not now, later. So they are an advantage for us to get the cost of get the bid of the cost into the amount that we're putting.
it seemed to me that if you did them now, it would be better because you're staging the project.
Absolutely.
And from what you described, it seems to me, and I hope the committee agrees, that they're important. Like changing all the water pipes so they don't freeze.
Yes,
That's an important
it is.
thing. So
And this is the nuts and bolts of the project. They're going to be in the basement area for this aspect of the project. It's going to impact the second floor. So for them to be, as with any construction project, for them to do it all at once makes it much easier.
do repeat again when you get the bids back.
We get the sub bids are due May 13th, and the general bids are due May 27th.
So maybe at the June meeting, you need more funds for phase one.
Yeah.
I would suggest you apply because we have money in the retained account for that. And then why don't you continue? I want to talk about your timeline.
Okay.
Those were
That's
two
good.
important questions to figure out how.
And really that's a good point, and I totally agree with that. And moving step by step, I think that's really what I'm trying to say is that as we work through this process, if we need more funds, we probably do.
I think if you come to us and to the city council for more funds for phase one, an explanation how the 511 estimate changed to 648, a very clear, detailed estimate. The explanation would help.
Absolutely. I'll bring.
Because I don't know, my fellow councilors are going to ask the same question. How did this happen? How did it get more money? And it's obvious to me how it happened, but not always to everybody. So.
Yes, I think there were some additional unexpected costs.
Okay.
And as well as looking at inflation that added to the project. But if we were to come back, I would bring our manager of this project, Mike Towson, to give you a very
Absolutely.
detailed explanation about that.
Before we move on to the rest of her presentation, do you have any questions about that part of it, the phase one costs? Anybody? Besides me? Go ahead, Grant, finish.
Yeah, and really just to talk about the campaign. So as I mentioned, we need 5.9 million to get to the second phase of the project. And what we're doing as an organization is what we've been doing all along, but moving forward with some significant grants that are in place and we should know about in early fall, and as well as fundraising efforts and businesses throughout the community. So we're diligently working behind the scenes to make this happen. But in order to, the CPA is generous in pledging around $3 million for this project. And we want to make sure that this stays in alignment as we move forward with our fundraising efforts, that when we have that in place, we can hit the ground running.
So big question, the bond, which we're both fighting to get released. And I also know that bonding to whatever millions we have to bond for the project from the city side takes a lot of time. So what I'm hearing, I think, is that you're hoping during that period that you'll finish your fundraising, including that bond being released. Is that?
It does include that, and we're looking at alternatives just in case too. So,
Okay, good.
yeah, so we, as I mentioned, there's a couple of grants that are out there, as well as additional foundations, and we are also approaching individual donors that can help us with this project. So it's, I mean, because of the nature of fundraising and grants and the complexity of getting this funding from many different locations. Chicopee City Hall, they've renovated their city hall because they have their offices in that building. So we're working in collaboration with the city of Easthampton for a city-owned building to make this happen and to create long-term affordability for the arts in Easthampton. So, it's a beautiful thing, and we can only do this together. So, I thank you for your support. I will say, Councilor Riss, that I talked to a donor the other day who said, I said, why did you give? And she said, because of Dan Riss' letter. And she said,
You guys read it?
she said it meant a lot. And, everybody who I talk to is touched by somebody else's story or connection to the building. And when I think of this building, I think of it as our building, and I don't mean us in this space or those watching this video. I mean everybody in Easthampton and beyond, that it's really our building and that we have the capacity to make this happen. But I know I'm speaking to the choir.
I have a proposal.
Yes.
I'm finished with your presentation.
Can I ask one quick question?
Oh, sure, Dan.
Approximately, where are you now with the fundraising?
So we're at 4.47 million. That includes the CPA. So the grants that we're looking at right now, there's a couple of 600, 700.
4.7.
4.7, does that include the 3 million pledged or the million? Only the million that's been
Just
approved.
the pledge, yes.
3 million.
Yeah.
But does it include the bond? Doesn't include the bond.
It does not include the bond. So with the bond, we'd be very close to the 5.9 million. With these grants, we would exceed that. The fundraising efforts that we're looking at, that would be beyond that. So
5.9 million isn't the credit. Not that, the way with the construction and everything else.
yes, so it's a $6.9 million project as a whole. So, but we need 5.9 million to start, and that's where we need to begin. And you're right, it's going to be more than that, and we know that. But we're going to take this step by
No,
step.
I appreciate you doing it the right way. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just with the inflation costs, and some things are leveling off, we might be in a better playing field when we get to the next phase.
Can I update you on the bond? What I keep talking about that. They were granted, City Space was granted a $750,000 bond that Representative Carrier Elis got for us, but it's not being released by the governor's office. Apparently, I've heard there's a catch-22. We'll release it when we see you do the work, like build an elevator or something, but they can't. It's hard for them to start the work without that money in place. So I've written letters, beautiful letter from you and Mike to a lot of people trying to get that bond released. But that's why I'm talking about it, because that's been given to the project. It just has to be released by the governor's office. So there's some politics around it, but I just wanted you guys all to know what I'm talking about. Scott.
Two things. One, I don't know if it matters, but for a second on that screen, it said your mic is off. Are you talking? So I know that that's a different
because
microphone.
This
microphone.
device here,
Right.
the microphone,
As long as
my
it's all
mic was
set.
on, we'd be echoing.
Great. I just wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. And the second thing, so is there an ask of drawing down, like when you're saying it's what, 150, how much over this phase is going to be 600.
Yeah, it's about 137,000. Yeah.
So
Exactly that, yes.
So are we actually like being asked to approve that drawdown more, or you're just sort of
Not
updating?
yet.
Okay.
Because what's gonna happen now is the bids come in and they could be much more than that.
Okay.
So, and if anybody's watching this video, I hope that they are. I hope that they come in at a price to the value that we have here, because I think that the price estimation is very good. You know, it's a pretty clean and solid project, so it's not a complicated project. And it should be what it is, but
Got it.
that being said, I can't.
Totally.
We won't know until next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I didn't know, like, is there, basically you're coming here to be job this, the process and, okay. But as far as like the 3 million pledge, I mean, do you still anticipate that being sufficient from this committee?
No, I don't.
Okay. I guess that's what I like, is that the,
I mean, yes, it's sufficient, but we may need more. So, to make the project happen, but I can't give you the actual cost. Something that's really great about phasing this project out is just like with renovating the first floor, is that we get to try out, see how this process is working. Even though, you know, Mike Hausnick has done this before and Converto Architects has done this before, we get to sort of go into our building and work on it and test it out and see how this bidding process is working, what the inflation costs look like, and have a better estimation of what the phase 2 is going to look. So it's helpful in that way.
Okay.
That's a positive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I understood what was
So
going on.
I can't tell you how much more it would be, you know? It's,
Yeah, no, it's more sort of
right.
knowing what, okay, that goes up, what does that mean for the large, for ultimately what are part of it?
Right, and one of the reasons why I wanted to update the committee on this is because you are looking at for the amounts you have in your account right now, and we'll be coming back for the second phase, and there's just a lot of logistics and figuring out what the next steps are. I don't know how you want to move forward with that funding. That's up to the committee.
I have something I want to show, but I've got to get it up properly. Darn it, I
Are
lost.
you sharing your inbox with like all of these campers?
I'm trying to get the slide back up.
Is the time frame between April 27th and May 13th, that's standard? I mean, it seems like a pretty tight turnaround for subs to get their bids in, but do you have any concerns about that?
My understanding is it's pretty standard. They'll come forward with a walkthrough on May 4th. So the sub bid, that's the sub bid, and then the general bid questions are due on May 23rd, and general bids are due on May 27th.
So we got 3 weeks. Thanks.
All right, I've got a better idea.
Right.
I just need to ask you, so I'm gonna. All right. So the budget that we just submitted, which happens first, adds another 250,000 to the 744,000. This figure right here. Oh, not sharing. Why are you pinned? Let me share. So this figure here, 744, that's without the 250 that we've already granted city space for phase 1. We add 250 to that, we're back up towards $1 million. Okay. If we bond 2 million, which is what I'd like to do, that's 3.25 million that we're giving. I'm saying that because our revenue is higher than it's ever been, and it's increasing. And bottom line of our current count is 1.143. So I want to go around the room and ask, how do you feel about that? I'd like to increase their amount because we have the money in the bank, because this is going to cost more than we think it's going to cost. I mean, these estimates were done, what, 3 years ago? So if we do the 3.25 million, that's the total project, we have to bond 2. Okay, because we'll give them the $1 million that's in the bank, but we've already given them 250 of that. So that's how the math adds up. I think we can afford it. I think it'll help them, and I'd like to do that. The other thing to say, and maybe I'm glad you're here, Greg, a bond over 10 years is $250,000 a year. I was told that we could do that, Greg. We could set an exact figure for every year. Is 250 a good estimate? Because that's what we're setting aside now. I've always used that as an idea of what this will cost over 10 years. We set aside 250 every year and put it into a retained earnings, but once we bond, we have to pay it. Does that make sense to you?
You can have a fixed principal and interest payment annually, and I think that's what you would want to do for planning purposes. I think that the unknown is what interest rates are going to be. So I don't really know what's an appropriate, like what that would translate into a total bond amount over 10 years.
Is 250 out of is that a ballpark? Is it not even? Don't even want to say. I only bring it up because
You're saying 2 million with annual payments of 250? No, it's probably somewhere in that vicinity. I just don't know what interest rate the city can get. I'm working from, one.
And we don't know the bond market right now, and it's probably because of the market completely. It's all over.
And our credit rating is, a function of that and other debt that we have.
We have a very good credit rating because we have millions of dollars in the bank. The city does. And although this is being funded by the CPA, the entire city's fiscal stability helps with that. So again, I think we could afford it. So how do people feel about that? Because Burns is going to come back in June, the bonding request. I'd like to know.
What plus from Burns is for the funds. It's for the city CPA to decide how. It could be entirely cash or just bonded.
Well, that's true.
So like, just
That's true.
and the bond is when you make the recommendation to the city council, the bond, the term, and everything like that needs to be determined. Otherwise, it's the mayor and finance director who make those decisions.
Well, let me just start over there. We gave a commitment of 3 million. I'd like to increase that commitment to 3.25.
Yep.
And I'd like to hear what people think.
I'm fine with it. Yep.
Right? Not sure yet.
Is this a decision for, are we committing to 3.25? No, I mean, in principle.
I'm just asking, do you guys think it's a feasible? Because
I'm open to it, sure.
Right.
Yeah, I know when we looked at this, and I think it was when we were in person, so it has to have been over 2 years ago. We had papers with examples of okay, if we bonded it over this many years and what it would, and I remember that being really helpful to look at a few examples of how that affected what we had on hand this year and what we would have on, I think I'm certainly open, I'm open to, I'd want to look at all that. I guess obviously this is a huge project and I believe a really important project. I think I want to make sure we are able to have flexibility to be able to do other large important projects that.
Well, and as Jamie said, we can fund it any way we want. We may decide to bond 1.5 and give 1.7 out of the cash we have because we have that much. But my concern about using the cash that way is we have other projects that I hear coming.
Yeah,
like other things that we made, the skate park, things like that that need to be built. So I'd rather bond because that gives us the planned amount each year.
Yeah.
And I'm bringing this up only because I'm looking at 2 million as probably, and I would say to your point, like we lost our treasurer. We don't have a treasurer now, so hopefully Mike can help us get some examples of what 10 years is going to cost us. I would like to keep it to 10 years because the interest cost goes up if we keep going. We go to 15, stuff like that. I can get those figures, of course, but my opinion, if we can maintain around that 250,000 payment, we've proven over the last 5 years,
Yeah.
that we've been able to maintain that. It's important to note if we bond, and for some strange reason, a city decides to vote, whole city, the CPA gone, we still obligated to bond, but to pay that, but that's not good. Anyway, I'd like to continue this discussion.
That last point you made is really important, right? That for 5 years we've done this. It's come out. It's never come up like, oh, here's a project. I'd feel more comfortable approving this project if we weren't taking that 250. You know what I mean? I never remember that as part of the discussion of like what we've had on hand relative to the amount of proposals we've had. So that I think that's valuable. Having 5 years of experience with that is valuable.
Andy, any thoughts?
Yeah, is the city on the hook for any of this?
City of Easthampton.
Yeah.
It's all CPA fund.
I mean, I get it, and the construction costs are incredible. We're already in for 3. I mean, I'm open to that. $1.25 million is, you know, and I know the way construction works. I mean, I did a little research myself. I mean, the project went up $12 million in 3 years. Originally, was originally proposed. So, I mean, it's going to happen. The longer she made the point when she originally came in. The sooner it happens, obviously, the lower the cost. So it is.
And hopefully the supply chain problems go down, which may reduce costs.
Yeah, I mean, even with supply chain, you're
The
still.
reason the city can't, look, I don't ask the city, we're wondering about American Rescue Act funds and things like that. Besides paying 1.5 million for this Union Street project, which is starting this year, we have to pay a lot of money for the project around Rotary. That's another project that DOT's approved. So the city has a lot of funded projects that they're looking to pay for. And we don't want to touch our stabilization because if we start touching our stabilization, reduces the bond rate, which costs go up for bonding. So that's where we are. I'm the chair of the finance committee, so I want you to be aware of why perhaps the city, it's hard to ask the mayor to fund beyond the CPA's funding right now. Maybe.
It's just that they're leasing from the city. You would think the city would have some sort of investment. It's as being some people that actually very own them. I think they want to help out a little. Maybe.
We could ask her.
Although we are the city, right? I mean, we're the part of the city that deals with
We're separate. This
like historic preservation. I don't know. I mean, I get what you're saying. Like,
city government.
John, Harry, do you have any thoughts on this?
Not really.
Okay. John?
No, I'm for it. I feel like it would be detrimental to pull back, having gotten this invested. To me, the phrase that seems easiest to sum it up is in for a penny, in for a pound.
There you go. Well, when I wrote that letter to the editor, when I talked about the economic impact, that wasn't just pie in the sky stuff trying to get people to, that's real. It is real. I worked at Academy of Music for years and at Northampton, the amount of people coming out of one show that filled the restaurants was enormous. That was one show. We're going to have a lot of shows up there. So the economic impact is big. So when you look at the CPA and its reason for existing, what is the public impact of this particular project? It's enormous in my view. Besides helping the arts, it's helping the restaurants and all the economy and getting people, the walking people. So there's going to be naysayers. There always is, but thank you. It's good to hear.
Do you know what our current interest rate is for any of the debt that we have?
If you ask the mayor, she could get it. The
So,
mayor likes you, so if you ask her.
I mean, I think at like 4.5%, over 10 years, you're looking at about 250,000 a year. So, if it's much more, if it's 5.5 or 6 or 7%, then we're over that 250 annually. So
And that's for 2 million, right?
that's for 2 million. Either you have to reduce the amount, right, from 2 million to 1.6 or something different, or you have to extend your term to 12 years or 15 years or something different in order to get that same.
Thank you.
That's my back of the napkin.
That's why we want you on.
Well, I didn't do that in my head. We have the technology, so.
That's right.
So Burns, that's my thought.
I love your thought. That's great. Yeah.
I didn't think you'd reject it.
So, it's a person, and I think that we'll need to work through whatever process you want to go through to fund the project, and I think that we will bring in any kind of help we can make that happen. Because we really appreciate your support of this project.
Well, as Jamie said, you come in and say, we'd like that commitment of 3 million to be funded.
Right.
We can decide, well, we're going to make it 3.2, or we can decide not to. And we can decide how it's going to happen. Jamie said, we can bond a lot of it or bond
It is up
less.
to you. Yes.
It's up to us.
Yes.
So when you make that application, like correct, Jamie, ask for the commitment, and then we can raise it, we can lower it, we can do whatever we want. But I really think we have the support of the city council on this. I really do. They want to see it happen. And I think we have I am certain we have the support of the mayor. It's a matter of process and what else is in the pipeline for the CPA. I don't want to hurt those things. I know the pool needs work. They're going to go out for grants, and the CPA project funds that we give leverages grants. So I want to make sure, but when we have 1.4, we've done a lot this year, okay? And we have 1.143 in the bank. We have 785, something like that, revenue. That's what was on here.
That's what
For next year, it's going to keep going up. So I feel comfortable asking. Anything else, Burns?
Just one thing, the CPA was supportive of the restoration of the first floor space, and just an update on that. It's been going very well. We opened in sincerity in January, sort of post-Omicron, post-Omicron. So we are booked through July right now, booking in the fall. There's a real need for the space, more so than we could even imagine. We have everything from nonprofit organizations having the Scummag Trust, Conservation Trust, have their meeting there and show birds of prey to people who were part of members and outside folks. We have storytelling workshops, we have theater runs, we have belly dancing. It's all Zumba. Yes, we have Zumba. And belly dancing last night was like, they were like, we want to rent again. And I said, I'm sorry, we're booked through July. So there's a real need for this space, and the second floor space is just going to add to that.
And I don't think it'll compete. It means you'll have two separate funded rental cost spaces, one for a big project upstairs and a small one.
Yeah.
I think and the downstairs could be a green room or something.
Sign up there. Sign up. We need you to sign up.
Belly dance.
Belly dancing? Yeah, oh boy, you wouldn't have enough room in there for the people.
That would be a second floor event for sure.
We'd have to.
Yeah, we went to Springfield one time. There was a place over there. I can't remember the nationality, but it just run by those certain people that have that kind of thing. Very interesting, to say the least. With the
Downtown
bill
Springfield.
and everything.
Yeah.
Anyway,
But it's so wonderful to see the building enlivened and community members coming into the building. I talked to one belly dancer last night who grew up in Easthampton, and she hadn't been in the building since she was a kid, and was like, "This is amazing."
so you have a big sign, fund the second floor, buy a chair, right? Have a big sign up there.
Yeah, we do. And we continue to promote it. I give them a tour. So, and music groups, everything you can imagine. So it's
This is good news.
because of your support, that is enlivening the space, which will further help this project at the second floor too.
Where's parking?
Parking, that's a good question. I'm working on that with Jeff Bag, and we're talking to some neighboring businesses about.
Easthampton Savings Bank was on
There's a
board.
huge parking area behind.
Easthampton Savings after hours.
Yep.
They'll give us parking, I thought. They have a lot of room.
We're in discussion about that, yeah. So we're talking about, you know, the possibility of shared parking throughout the area, because it'll benefit not just city space, but also neighboring
Restaurants,
businesses, the restaurants.
Does Bank of America do anything with that building?
It's sold.
Who's
How
got
do they
it?
sell it?
Easthampton Savings Bank.
That's what I thought.
Who they bought it?
More office space, because Easthampton.
I'm not sure they're doing anything with it. I
Growing
think they just picked it up.
Yeah, yeah. That's too bad.
Yeah, my wife was the manager of that bank.
Right.
About 20 years.
Barnes?
Oh, do you think?
Thank you.
Well,
And I
She
should.
She retired and they closed it.
I see.
Today, our board member, City Space, who's also an owner at Mill 180 Park.
you're a farmer, an owner?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Great. It's a great little.
I was like, look, you guys, I'm like, where is that from? That's where it's from.
Yeah.
Got it.
So we're excited.
How many owners of Mill 180 are there?
My husband and I.
So that would-
How has it
That would
been?
be two.
I did the math.
Not what you did in your head, huh?
I didn't have to consult the phone.
Greg, that's why we're glad you're on the committee.
So Dan says.
Oh, Christ.
All right.
I love that- I
I'd
love
like to
that
go on to
activity.
The next item on the
No.
agenda.
You know, for the average person in the city going and seeing something going on at the city, that's great. It really is. You have all kinds of creative things going on there. That's fascinating.
It doesn't seem to be that this Majestic Theater, Old Majestic, they opened up a new play space down here. Doesn't seem to be competing with you too much.
No, you know, people want to perform, they want to play, and to my understanding, there's a shortage of performance spaces throughout the region, despite so many opening up.
And it costs a lot to get the academy.
Right, I lived in New Orleans, Dad, and I always like to think if
If everybody wanted
you
funding.
imagine a performance
The Majestic Theater. Oh, yeah.
opening up just next door to a performance space and being like, oh, I don't know about that. I mean, it's good to have competing organizations that exist within the same region because it makes it more vibrant.
Well, they both have,
Same as restaurants, basically. The
Exactly.
more restaurants that have, the more people go to the restaurants.
and it doesn't
Right.
seem like they're having trouble filling their space, so.
Yeah. So can city space be added to the main agenda?
Right, and you're going to submit an application.
Yes.
That's when you're gonna apply for the bond, or the,
We'll request the funding.
okay, cool. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Jamie, the next item is the request for the emergency rental increase. Could you inform, John is away. I think she's,
So the, put in this letter on behalf of the city and, we are currently with the emergency rental assistance program. It was scheduled to end April 30th. The administrative funds, there's about $2,000 left in administrative funds. Community Action has agreed to continue the program through June 30th, even though they're anticipating they'll run out of the administrative funds before then. They're going to just carry the firm through. At this point, it doesn't take them that much to continue the program. But they do want to have a hard end at June 30th. There is about $60,000 remaining in the grant funds, and they still have applicants applying for it. They've had a couple people come back who've received the maximum amount, previous maximum amount, $3,000. And they would, for various reasons, they're unable to get other support, and Community Action spoke with the mayor to see if it would be okay to increase that maximum to $6,000. The mayor was okay with it. So this letter, we sort of went back and forth to try to figure out what would there's not enough money to go back and say, everybody who already received $3,000 now get $6,000. Most of the folks who received the $3,000 had it applied to future rent, not necessarily for people who were in arrears. And the people who are needing additional funding at this point are still, they still owe back rent. You know, the $3,000 got them covered, but then they're still not on their feet yet, recovering from the pandemic. So the idea was to come back to CPA and go back to City Council for approval to change the guidelines to increase the maximum amount to $6,000 per household, and as outlined in the letter, for new clients, the first $3,000 could be used for either rent going forward or rent that's owed. But the second $3,000 won't be allowed to go for rent that's in arrears. So, and
It's going to be first come, first served.
and it's still that, yeah. So, and previous clients, folks who've already received the $3,000 maximum, would only be allowed to go past that if they still owe rent.
In arrears.
In arrears.
Okay.
And if they have not received the maximum amount, there are some primarily people who are housing authority properties. They did not, they could not have the first round of funds go to pay for future rent because their rents are calculated based off their income. And so when their income goes down, their rents are recalculated, but they may still owe past rent. So it can only used to pay past rent. So in this case, they would be allowed to continue to pay past rents up to the $6,000. Guess we're coming to the CPA to sort of get the approval to increase for the last $60,000 and this to increase the maximum award up to $6,000.
So let me,
Yeah.
we have 60,000 left in the bank, that Community Action does. They're willing to administer this for free.
But not,
For the 2,000, there's 2,000 left, but they're not going to take more administration money out.
correct.
So that's good news. We're going to allow up to 6,000 only for those clients who are in arrears and first come, first serve. Any new clients can get the first 3,000, but they can't get the next 3.
Well, they could, so then they could get the first 3,000 to go forward, and then
For future rent.
future rent, and if they were, a month behind, they could just get, 3,000 going forward and a month
And
behind.
it's first come, first serve because there's still the income restrictions we've had in.
Correct, and so all of the existing guidelines are in place regarding eligibility.
Process-wise, this goes to this, we approve it, it goes to the city council. And then once that's approved, it's done. That's a month. I worry about that because that's almost June 30th. I mean, it'll be the end of May, maybe, if we get it done. What about these people that need the 3,000 right away? I mean, there's nothing we can do, right? Can't help them until the city council approves it, right? So I'm just thinking out loud.
Right.
The city council's next meeting on May 4th.
You'd have to, if we approve it tonight, if you can get the appropriation order to them.
Well, so it's not an appropriation, it would just be the.
Change in status.
The change in the guidelines, so if that could be done,
That could be done in one meeting.
if that doesn't have to go to the subcommittee, then that could happen on the May 4th.
I would be very, well, let me say, unfortunately, Europe will be there at the May 4th. So. And you can hybrid in. Can you explain this? If we approve it tonight, can you be at the meeting to explain what's going on?
At the city council meeting
As assistant chair,
on May 4th,
it's May 4th,
which is a,
Wednesday, night. 2 weeks from tonight.
yeah, if I can hybrid.
Yes, Yes, we're allowing,
Or I can bring,
doing just like,
or I'd have to bring 2 kids to the meeting
no, it's hybrid. Absolutely.
because my wife won't be there
And the purpose of that is
on a
exactly
Wednesday.
because you're not a member. July 15th, members can no longer hybrid, but unless they extend that. You were always going to be. So if you could do that in my place, first of all,
If that's valuable,
I feel about this. I'm getting ahead of myself.
yeah.
I'm good with it.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
money we've already approved.
Right.
And obviously there's renters in arrears.
That's correct. So
Anybody object to that?
I thought the governor made that till June.
No, I heard July 15th. You mean the hybrid thing?
Yeah.
I heard July
So
15th.
we got guys on a planning board, we're gonna extend our virtual meetings.
After July 15th, you can't, what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, up to July 15th.
Yeah, up to July.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
So I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to ask, so is there anything that prohibits, or do we need to consider that if someone were to apply a new application, they could get the 3,000, pay forward, then turn around and get 3,000 to pay back in arrears? We need to do anything to make sure that pay the arrears first?
I think-
you're getting tricky.
Yeah, because I mean, that's a potential for abuse if there's no.
Yeah.
Community action would be on that, wouldn't it?
So, well, yes, and the idea is that most people who applied got, they applied based off their income. The original grant program required folks to be at least 1 month in arrears before they could apply. That was then amended to just be that they don't have to be in arrears, but they have to have a COVID-related hardship that made it difficult to pay their rent, and then they could get that money going forward.
Not a deep concern. I just wanted to ask because it's.
Most of the people who qualified for this program have had it paid towards future rent. And so I think that a new applicant in that situation, if they came in and they owed money, they would, and so they would get, the first $3,000 would go to satisfy the rent that they owed and whatever rent going forward. And if that took care of them, if they no longer had that hardship, then they would not need to get the next $5,000. But if there was some reason why, like, they were unemployed and like, it was gonna be like, of course, now they're gonna be still unable to pay their rent.
Right.
Then
But that's not an abuse.
we'd look at it as saying, well, the $3,000 is going forward
Right.
and up to $3,000 to go back.
Right.
In that.
Which is the intention
A case
of
by
the
case
aid.
situation.
Sure. And I'm for it. I just wanted to clarify because I wasn't sure if there was some sort of little kind of loophole that might create a problem. It sounds that there's not.
I think the people in community action are aware of these kinds of issues. I trust them. I really-
And I support the idea. The people of the aid, that's the intention of it.
Jamie, I have a motion that I'm going to ask if you think it's okay. The motion is to extend the rent relief program to June 30th with $3,000 additional rent relief for renters in arrears. Does that work?
Amend the program guidelines.
A motion to amend the program guidelines. Extend program to June 30th with also $3,000 additional rent relief allowed for renters in arrears. That's specific, but that's core, correct?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You get that?
Motion to extend the rent relief program to June 30th and to amend the program guidelines with an additional $3,000 for renters.
Somebody make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I look at Jay, 'cause she's a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made at second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? So happy
Aye.
to raise our hands, guys. All opposed, abstaining, thank you. I think that's a good, we have the money, why not?
Yeah.
So if you can get this to city council, Scott, if you can be there,
Yeah, I mean, Jamie, will you be, I don't want to have like questions about I can be there to say the city council approved this, CPA approved this and was in full support. But as far as answering questions.
Oh, no, Jamie's, the reason for that is we're gonna try and do it in one session.
Right.
Based on the fact that the money's already been approved. I'm gonna tell this to President Gomez, the money's already been approved. And we like this voted on because this program needs to get done now to help these people right away. It's not a new appropriation. We only vote upon it. Simply changing the status of the program. I think we did that before with, up here, we did it in one session.
Yeah.
Those precedents. So the only reason you're there is to support Jamie and.
And to say the CPA was said unanimous support. Yeah.
Okay,
So this would go within their new business typically, or?
no business, send it to Barbara, just make sure the request is for the program to be amended. And that CPA is hoping that could be done with one vote. I think it's as it was before. And I'll send a note to Omar about this.
Yeah, and I'll copy on that.
Could you do that before next Wednesday? Because otherwise, I was told not to look at city emails while I'm in London.
Uh-oh.
My son used to do this on Monday morning.
Good luck with me on that. All right, guys, thank you very much. Thank you, Scott, for stepping in for me. Anything else this evening?
Presenting us.
Next meeting will be
Nineteen.
May 19th.
And I will be here.
6:30.
6:30, yes. Apparently people thought it was 6:30. All right, motion to
Motion to
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I like not doing the roll call. Boom.
Chase up.
Like, when it's something obvious, it's like.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.